you're actually overtrading because your emotional system is dysregulated. It's a nervous system issue. I want you to today give me 8 minutes, and I'm going to change the way you think about overtrading. And if you're a beginner, this is going to save you years of frustration and pain. So stick with me. If this is an issue for you, this is really the webinar you want to watch. Hi, I'm Marisa. I am a full-time trader and I'm a professional trading coach. I wasn't always a trader. I struggled for many, many years. I spent 12 years flailing around. Some of those years, sure, I didn't take it that seriously, but I really thought when I started to get into trading and investing, I just thought it would somehow just fall into place over the years, and eventually I would just shift from my career to becoming a trader. And as the years ticked by, once I got to about 10 years and realized this wasn't just falling into place, I started taking a bit more seriously. I did a lot of strategy courses. I tried almost every type of trading. I looked at the strategies I had and I loved all of them. They were all great. I just couldn't trade them. And something just clicked for me. I went, something is not right. Something has to change. I'm just doing the wrong thing, but nobody is teaching me how to do the right thing. So 2020 was a huge year for me. I stopped doing what I was doing and I said, it's something to do with me. It's the psychological side of me. It's the way I behave that meant I couldn't trade any of these strategies. And I went off and I went searching for the answer. I had to go and find, read up, research. So I spent a year doing that. Of course, I was still trying strategies. And after a year, I knew what the answer was. I knew everything, but knowing is not enough. I had to apply it to myself. That's when I found a coach. I worked with my coach, and after a year, because I had to develop myself through coaching, to apply all the psychology to myself, learn about myself. And from that point, I've never looked back. I've always just made improvements. Eventually, I did qualify my account. I got funded. And when that happened, when I qualified my account, I've never blown an account since. So before that, I'd blown many, many accounts. I'd blown 10 accounts. But once I got funded, got profitable, I've never blown an account. And that's what you want. You don't want, boom and bust cycles. You don't want to do well and then you just in a moment of, you lose everything and you start again. And that seems to be what happens out there. There's very few traders that just are consistently profitable. You don't have to be making crazy returns. It doesn't work like that. But this isn't gambling. This is about becoming professional. So I am a little bit different to any other tutor, trader, guru out there. I do not teach you my strategy. I will never teach you my strategy because you wouldn't be able to trade it. It would just be such a disservice to you because you don't need my strategy. You need professional development as a trader. And that's what I teach you. I teach you how to become a professional trader so that you can trade any strategy. There's amazing strategies out there. My strategy might not suit you. I've made my strategy. I didn't make it up myself. I got bits and pieces. As you know, I've spent years studying strategies, and I've created a strategy that works for me personally. And you've probably got all the knowledge you need already. You probably know loads of strategies. You know the charts, but you don't have the professional development. You're missing that piece, just like I was. So that's what I do in a nutshell. And that's why today we're going to talk about overtrading, because nothing to do with your strategy. There is something that kicks off, and I know overtrading very well, but it's like you start off in control, and then it's one loss, it's frustrating. Then it's another loss, but it's a wick, and then it runs in your favor. How frustrating. Then you start getting frustrated and you're jumping into these trades. Then you start getting angry. So by the end of your session, you're just hitting enter, and you almost are willing that account to be blown because it's going to feel good. It's just going to be done. Once it's blown, it's done, and it's almost a relief. I know what this feels like. I'm very familiar with it. Okay. So let's talk about the misdiagnosis here, because most traders, and when I'm saying most traders, I was also one of these. Remember, I had a point of reckoning in 2020 when I got off this freeway of misdiagnosis and misinformation. I took a hard left and learned another way. So I'm teaching you now what you're probably thinking, and you need to get off as well. You need to take a hard left as well, right? The misdiagnosis is that you are lacking discipline, that you're just undisciplined. Damn, you look at you don't have any discipline, you don't have any willpower. So you end the session hating yourself, angry. But of course, we're traders. We've all got a lot of motivation. We can all scrape ourselves up again and again and again. And the next day you're like, right, today is the day. And you make yourself hard promises. No more, like, you're really hard on yourself. No more this. I promise myself I'm not going to do it again. I need willpower. Come on, discipline, discipline, discipline. It's got nothing to do with that. You can make yourself as many promises as you like. It will not work. So if you're misdiagnosing the problem, you can't ever fix it. So I want to realign your thinking today so that you can actually start fixing this. We're going to talk about the truth, because the psychological truth about overtrading, because remember, tighter rules, bigger promises, more discipline is not going to fix this. So you're probably spending a lot of time doing the wrong thing. We have to look at the psychological truth of what is going on. Why do you slowly decay? Your control and your behavior slowly decays as you're sitting there and you're taking trade after trade, and by the end you're it's hard to explain what it's like, but I know that you know what it's like when you're just out of control. Basically, you're angry, frustrated. What is going on? It's an emotional dysregulation that you're going through. Now, what does that mean? I'm going to simplify it for you. It means that you're emotionally in pain. Your brain is on high alert because there's pain. You can also call pain danger. Your brain doesn't know what it is. It's just painful. It wants to get you to a safe spot. Basically, what you are doing when you are overtrading like that is you are self-soothing. It's kind of like a toddler. They get these emotions. They don't know how to deal with them, so they have a tantrum. You're self-soothing. Now, to think that as adults, we're that much more mature emotionally than we were as toddlers. Yes, we might not have a full-on tantrum, but most of us are not actually that different. We have a little bit more control, might not lie on the ground and throw a tantrum, but it's a little bit, hitting those buy or sell buttons out of control. You might as well be having a tantrum. And this isn't a criticism of us. This is what we're like as people. And part of this journey is to accept ourselves as we are, as people, because we don't want to change. We don't want to become perfect. You don't have to become perfect. What we have to do is accept ourselves and understand what's going on. And then we can control it. We can manage it. We can work through it. We can trade well in spite of all of this stuff. That's what we're going to do. That's the actual path. You don't have to suddenly become a saint with no feelings. It's ridiculous. The advice I see sometimes is, just two pieces of advice. One is just don't trade with emotions. Well, you've got emotions. You're a human. It's ridiculous. Or reduce the size. It's not a money thing. Now, reducing the size isn't going to fix your self-soothing behavior, because this isn't a money problem. You're not worried about losing the money. But reducing size is a good idea because it allows risk management, because you've now got higher risk that you might go on tilt. Okay, that's why you want to reduce the money side. So let's just check in here. If you're already starting to think, oh, I'm not sure about this, I think I just need tighter rules, I think I need to really change to that strategy because that strategy is just going to work and isn't going to frustrate me and isn't going to send me down this path, this is already your brain going into avoidance. Might as well also call it self-soothing. It's trying to avoid pain. It will tell you all sorts of things. That's why this is really hard. That's why, as most traders that are profitable will tell you, that they also went round and round in circles for so long. And this is why. Because our brains will tell us insane things. We can't see the truth because it's just trying to keep us safe all the time. So digging through that, it's hard because your own brain, not purposefully, but your own brain is against you. It's working against you. So you have to work extra hard to go, what's the real truth, and push through. See how just checking in on yourself like that, you can start to see your brain trying to tell you things. You always got to ask, is my brain trying to self-soothe? Is it trying to protect me? Is it trying to pick up little toddler Marisa and just keep her safe? That's what it wants to do, okay? Because we're not that much more developed emotionally than we were as toddlers. We feel unsafe very quickly. Not a criticism of us. That's what we're like, okay? And just embrace it. We're humans. This is a beautiful journey. So we've covered the psychological truth, and this is a key point, because now that you know this, you know now what's going on. Remember how I said in my own journey, I had to know these things, and then I had to apply them to myself. So knowing them is hard enough in itself because your brain wants to lie to you and tell you other things, doesn't want you to go down this path. And then going down the path to actually apply the psychology to yourself is a whole process. But at least now you can start. So we're going to get to that, because I'm going to tell you a framework that you can start using to help manage the overtrading. But knowing what's going on is the first step, and now you know. Okay. And now you're ahead of already 95% of traders. 95% fail because they never understand what's really going on. They don't know how to fix it. We're going to look at how can we practically start stabilizing ourselves. And stabilizing, I mean self-soothe before our brain just automatically self-soothes. How can we make our emotional state feel safe? That's what it is. That's all we're doing. Okay, we're not trying to get rid of emotions. We're not trying to not be a human. We're just trying to identify the risk. The risk is that your brain starts self-soothing and telling you lies and making you very confused. And we need to manage that. That's all we're doing. Before we get into this framework, there's only 3 things you need to correct to stop your overtrading. Okay, it's not 10, it's not many more indicators in your charts, it's nothing like that. It's only 3 things. Let's go through it. Let's keep it nice and simple because we don't have to overcomplicate this. Step 1, you need to identify the activation. You need to identify when your brain is starting to override your logic. You need to identify when your emotions are heightened. You need to identify when this tantrum is starting. Okay, so what you're going to do before you trade, you need to check in with yourself and you need to go, am I calm or am I feeling? And if you're feeling like this, it means you're in activation mode. Now, this step is just about awareness. That's all. We just want to be aware. Because up until now, you've had no awareness. You've just jumped into trading, and then you've got a blown account. And you're like, what happened in between? we're now just becoming aware. Okay, so before you trade, just be aware. Ask yourself, am I calm or am I activated? Is my breathing faster? Is my heart racing? Is it there's a lot of physiological signals telling you, Mara, you're activated. You now just need to take that middle step and just become aware of it. That's all you need to do for now. When you are activated, all that's happened is you as part of your trading system, the risk of you has increased. You've now got increased risk. So we need to manage that. That's what we're doing in a very practical way. Okay, and if you don't check in with yourself, you don't become aware, you can't do that. Now, step 2, you have to regulate before you make decisions. So you cannot go and analyze the chart in this activated state. So how do we deactivate? It's a physical thing. Get up, pace around the room for 90 seconds, do star jumps. Anything physical is going to help regulate this. Believe it or not, it's very, very powerful. Okay? Just physical activity. Go and sprint outside. Do something. It doesn't have to be for long. 90 seconds. Okay? You just want to just get the worst bit of that activation out of the way. You might still feel a little bit of it when you sit back down at your desk and start your work, but you've now addressed the most urgent bit of it. You've now reduced that risk slightly, and most importantly, you're aware of the risk. So now you can see if that level increases, rinse and repeat. Go and do some star jumps, go and do something physical, and then you'll be amazed at how this does calm you down. The third part of this framework is that you must relook at your trading rules and commit to a trade frequency. What does that mean? It means that you pre-commit to how many losses are you willing to take in a session before you can call it a day and go, this market, remember there's a part of a session that just tells you this is how the session's going to be. There's no point sitting there forcing things. No point. Doesn't make sense. But remember, your little tantrum self is now losing its shit over a market that's just not right for your strategy. So you need to agree in a calm state while you backtest, agree how many losses can you have in a session that makes sense. And then what is your hard rule for I'll stop trading now? I just want to now reflect on that, because I know you're going, yeah, okay, but if I'm out of control, I can have as many rules as I like, but I won't be able to follow it. This is true. What we're doing now is we're starting the training of your emotional side. And it's like a muscle. It's not going to just fix itself overnight. To improve your trading, to become a profitable, consistent trader, there isn't an overnight fix. There isn't a magic pill. There isn't a magic trick. There isn't a one secret you know, and then when you know it, it'll just be fixed. Nothing is going to improve overnight. Nothing is going to be fixed and amazing overnight. But if you come in and every day you commit to this framework, you might spend the first week committing to the framework and just failing terribly. It's just not working. But as the days creep on, you're slowly getting a bit better at the awareness. You're like, oh, wow, I was actually aware of that yesterday. I wasn't. That's what improvement looks like. And it's about scraping yourself up every day, which we know you can do, and going again and again and again, because it's a muscle. We're training a muscle. You don't go to the gym one day and do a bicep curl and you've got biceps. It doesn't work like that. So why do you think this would work like that? Progress is very slow. Progress is about showing up every day and trying. This will start to work. And this is the best hope you've got right now, because the alternative is just letting this free ride, right? nothing's going to work overnight. It's about showing up. It's about committing to your success. And I want to just leave you. I want to just make sure I've covered everything, because I don't want to leave this and think, oh, I should have said that. I want to leave you with, most traders, and when I say most, what I'm saying is 95% that fail. Most traders fail. So most traders think, I need to be disciplined. So when they have a bomb day and blow an account, it's okay, I need to be disciplined. I'm coming back, I'm going to be disciplined. It's just the wrong identity to try and grab on, because it's impossible. That's not how discipline works. You can't just force yourself to be disciplined. So you're hanging on to an identity that makes no sense. Stick to an identity that says, I'm going to be a professional trader. Today I'm going to act as a professional. It's a far clearer, it's actually an identity that you can cling to. Clinging to I'm going to be disciplined is not an identity. So it's a hollow, very hollow promise that you're never going to be able to fulfill. Saying every day, today I'm going to show up and be a professional trader, I'm going to act as a professional, is a far stronger identity. And that's what you need to strive for. It's about professional development. It's about becoming professional at this. Professionals don't throw tantrums. They don't lose their shit over their jobs. That's kind of the difference. It doesn't trigger them, doesn't make them so emotional. They can be a professional about it. Think about a professional at anything. Doesn't matter if I have to, at home, I get a leaky tap and I've got to change the tap. I can do that. I can YouTube and look at it. And I did it recently, actually. But, oh my God, I didn't really, I knew what I was doing because I had YouTube, I had a guide. But everything every time I took something off, was like, oh, it was just an emotional roller coaster. And I felt panicked. I was like, oh, am I going to turn the water on time? I'm not going to be able to shower. I was panicked. Now a professional comes in. Yes, they've got experience and they've got training, but they're also professional about it. They don't come in and lose their shit because you don't have water. They're not like, oh, I hope we get water back. Oh, they're not like that. They're like, they don't know if they're going to get it back for you. It might be a really bad job, a really complex job, and they're going to come back tomorrow, but they're going to deal with the whole thing as a professional. It's not just about the technical bits of the tap. It's about the whole situation. They're going to be professional about it. They're not going to start crying because, oh, they couldn't get the water on for you tonight and you've got to wait until tomorrow and you're not going to have water. That's the difference. It's not just about technical stuff. It's about the whole piece that goes around. And with traders, we often forget the professional piece that goes around trading. And that's actually the most important piece. It's 90%. Next time you feel the urge to click and click and click and click, I want you to do something. I don't want you to stop yourself. I want you to observe yourself. Just try to, it feels good to click. So you don't have to stop yourself, but you can observe yourself. And it's going to lead to when you start making that shift over to the professional identity and you observe yourself doing that, you will actually by default stop, because you'll be like, click, 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 and then you'll be like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And that's how it starts. Okay. So I'm going to leave you with that. I hope you enjoyed this. Overtrading, it's such an issue because it ultimately leads to blown accounts and very frustrating, but this is how you stop it. I've got a guide called From Chaos to Consistency. It gives you an overview of kind of the end-to-end framework for this professional development that I'm talking about. If you want that guide, let me know in the comments. I'll send you a link to it. So who am I and why should you listen to me? My name is Marisa. I'm the founder of Method Trading. Before I became a trader, I worked in regulatory compliance for investment banks in London. I'm now a full-time trader, and I do swing trading on Forex and US stocks. I'm a crypto investor and high time frame trader, and I'm also a long-term value investor in the global stock markets. In 2025, my portfolio surpassed $1 million. I'm a trading mindset expert, and I'm a trained coach. I've worked with Hollywood success coach Bernard Hiller, and I also trained with trader and CEO of City Traders Imperium, Daniel Martin. And finally, I'm a performance coach for City Traders Imperium, a prop firm based in London. So what do? I help struggling traders get unstuck and become profitable, and I do this through coaching.